Hello, welcome everybody that's joining us. I can see the numbers popping up very quickly. My name is Kathy Nelson, and I'm here as a guest of PhotoMine, which I'm thrilled to be here. Why don't you drop a note in the chat where you're joining us from as we give people time to join us. I am in West Hartford, Connecticut, and I could probably put that in there. And let's see, how come I can't write into the chat? That's weird. But go ahead and are you seeing the chat? People writing where they're from in the chat?
Nope.
We need to have that turned on somehow, probably, but it's okay. If not, we'll chat.
Does it work now? Let's see.
I don't see anything.
Just says hosts and panelists right now.
You should change, you can change whoever you're messaging to when you open the chat.
Yeah, it only gives us.
Give an option for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to need to see that for, wow, lots of people though, 213. If that, we can't get that to work, then we'll have you ask the questions maybe. But we need to figure that out. I wonder why. So hello everybody. I'm glad we'll keep figuring this out. It's only 12:01 and the numbers keep climbing. So we're thrilled that you're here. Kimberly is here in oh, here we go. Oh, it's in the Q&A. People are putting things. I see. Okay, we've got Nevada. It says the chat is disabled. Katrin said so. Maybe go to the Q&A.
Yes, only the Q&A will work. Yeah, Mickey are also assured.
There we go. So go to Q&A. That's just a different spot on your run down there. You see chat. Go to Q&A, and that's a great place to ask questions. So as we go through the presentation, and you can tell us where you're from. This way, we got Arizona and London and New Jersey and Texas and Maryland, and everybody's figuring out how this works. St. Louis and Georgia, Maine,
Vancouver, Canada,
and New Orleans and Massachusetts and Canada. So awesome. What a wonderful way to see people from all over the world.
South Carolina.
We got Denver and Montreal again and Dallas. Stephen has members from West Hartford. Cool. So how the numbers are still climbing. So we do this. This is always kind of fun way to, as everybody looks up and says, oh, it's 12 o'clock or whatever time it is where you are. You think I want to jump on this webinar. So we'll just do this for another minute or two until the numbers of people joining slow down a little bit. We've got Oklahoma and North Carolina and Pennsylvania and Maryland and Iowa. It's an amazing big world out there, isn't it? So
here I see some people from Scotland and the UK.
Ireland.
Vancouver Island, Spain.
Ireland, I was just introduced to a poet that probably a lot of people know, maybe, but I didn't know. I know John O'Donohue, which is a very well-known poet in Spain, but I was just introduced today to, I gotta look it up quick. What was his name? David Wright. I think his name was by somebody, great poet. Denmark, UK, Scotland. Anne is always here from sunny Scotland. She always says sunny Scotland. Cape Town, London. So how are we slowing down a bit there? Looks like we are at this point.
Let's wait maybe one more minute.
Okay. Westport, Connecticut. So again, as those that you are joining, the chat is not working, so you can ask your questions and make your comments, please, in the Q&A. And we will be answering questions, but we'll take time at the end to answer questions, but we'll also be dropping some information into the Q&A, so that you can follow along. Still have people joining. All right, what do you think?
Okay, let's go?
Sure, let's go.
Okay, hi everyone, my name is Michelle. I'm from PhotoMine. I'm a content manager here at PhotoMine. Our guest speaker, which will soon be talking, I won't be talking more than 2 minutes, is Kathy Nelson. She's the CEO and co-founder of the Photo Managers. I'm sure she'll tell you more, but it's a community that assists individuals to effectively manage their photo collections and share their unique stories. So obviously we love her here at PhotoMine and the whole community. This is our second webinar together this year. We've had some more in the past, and we already have another one planned for next month. We will let you know by email. So we are very excited to have you. We love having you here with us. Please ask questions. Like Kathy said, the Q&A is going to be open, and Kimberly, who is also from the Photo Managers, will be answering some questions. Some questions will be saved to the end, and Kathy will answer them here. And then just few things about PhotoMine before we start. So first, you are very welcome to connect with us on social media, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, wherever you're at. We would love you to connect with us and see our videos and content. Our website also has some very nice weekly contents with photos shared by our users and just some nostalgic photos, things that photo lovers like to see. And last but not least, we are having a big sale in honor of this webinar. So you will get 30% off all PhotoMine scanning accessories on our Amazon store. We will send you the link to the store with today's recording, which I think will be sent tomorrow. And yeah, this will, it just helps you digitize your memories in a more professional way. And that's it. So now I'm going to give the floor to photo organizing master Kathy Nelson. She will guide us through the importance of keeping your photo legacy and how to do it.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Welcome again, everybody. I'm going to share my screen here. And whoops, I didn't have that set up. Here we go. Get rid of the questions and start my slideshow. And I always turn my video off because it's no fun to watch yourself when you're speaking. So welcome again, everybody. Today's talk is organizing your photo legacy. And I kind of added this little pictures don't talk, uncovering the untold stories behind family photos. My name, again, is Kathy Nelson. I am the CEO and founder of the Photo Managers. And I have the author of 2 books, Photo Organizing Made Easy, Going from Overwhelmed to Overjoyed, and also a business roadmap for professional photo organizers. But I have always loved stories, and I can still remember reading all the autobiographies in my elementary school library. And in high school, I fell in love with photography as the yearbook photo editor. And it was then that I made the connection between using photos as a way to capture stories that would be viewed long into the future. Now, I never imagined that would become my life work, but it has. As the CEO and founder of the Photo Managers, we are a global membership organization that serves entrepreneurs through training, professional certification, partnerships, and educational conferences. And we have 2 missions: to help families and small businesses around the world achieve success as professional photo managers, but also really to educate people like you on the importance of organizing and saving and sharing your photos and videos. So let's get started. What do I mean when I say the word photo legacy? And it's interesting, you might be surprised that I started out with the idea right off the bat that you have a story, I fell in love with stories in photography, because your story matters. It matters to you, it matters to your family, and it's going to matter for generations to come. And while it can be daunting to imagine writing a story down, much of it has already been documented through photos, which are likely scattered all over the place. How many of you can relate to this? They're stored on multiple devices, they're on hard drives, laptops, phones, and that's just digital, right? The rest are maybe in shoe boxes, they're your garages, your attics, they may be in slide carousels or old leather photo albums with adhesive pages, which, by the way, are not helpful for those photos. And so how satisfying would it be to gather all your photos and organize them into a tidy system that allows you to find them? And then you can create slideshows and presentations and photo books. And so that's what I mean by a photo legacy. Photos tell the story of our lives, but how do we turn our images into a lasting photo legacy? So instead of just handing down a random collection of scanned or unorganized images for the future, wouldn't it be great to add the details to the photos so the stories don't get lost? And so you don't think you're alone, let's put this in perspective, right? in this problem. We are facing what they call the greatest wealth transfer in our history. Over the next 10 years, it's estimated that over $3 trillion of durable goods are going to be passed from baby boomers to Generation X. And that's a lot of stuff. And history and stories and the things of value will be lost forever if there's no way to capture, preserve, and share the meaning behind our stuff. Can you relate to this cartoon, right? Oh, look, son or daughter, aren't you excited? Someday all of this is yours, right? You know, like, oh my gosh, is any of it value? Does anybody care? The answer is yes, they really do care. And they care deeply about the family photos. Why? Because photos hold immense sentimental value. They serve as windows to the past, triggering memories and emotions. But the images only capture a fraction of a story, right? There's an image, those are my kids. They're so much older than that now. And we had a goal to see all lower 48 states before they graduated from high school. And that's when we finally got them to Nebraska was our last state. And that's a little example of a poster that we had made, right? Many times there's a missing narrative. Well, photos freeze a moment in time. They don't tell us something, right? They don't tell us that story. And that's what's so frustrating, right? When we lose the stories behind the images. Here's an example. Now, you'll be noticing that AI has become the biggest buzzword out there, right? Everybody's talking about AI, and it's fascinating, and I'm using it myself in many different ways, and terrifying at some level and really helpful, amazing already at others. And it's certainly in the photo area, people talk a lot about AI in terms of you don't need AI will tell the stories for you in the future. But the reason why we don't really worry about that is AI will tell me that this is a picture of my son, and they'll know through facial recognition that the person you stand next to is Belinda. AI is getting so sophisticated, it's going to know every type of, or probably already does, could tell me every type of flower in the bouquet. It could tell me the water bottle that my Josh is holding in his hand. It knows where this is taken. I think someday, probably in the not too dear distant future, there might even be AI that could tell us who the people are, even in the background at an airport. That was at the airport. So there's a lot of things that AI is going to be able to tell us about this photo. What it won't tell you about this photo is that this is the first time my son, who's adopted, looked into the face of someone who looked like him. We discovered his first cousin, Belinda, through a 23andMe DNA search. She responded, couldn't believe it. How is it possible that I have a first cousin who lives in the United States and speaks English when my entire family is from Mexico, and all my aunts and uncles and cousins? And it was just an amazing miracle. And we flew her to Connecticut to meet us. And that was them meeting each other for the first time. So that's an example how a significant photo story is behind just that photo, and AI can't tell us that story. And that's part of his legacy. That's part of his life story. These are key moments in their lives. So when you're looking at old photos and you're asking yourself, well, how do I do this? Here's some questions to think about. Who are the obvious, right? Who are the people in the photo? Nothing's more frustrating than inheriting boxes of photos when you don't know who's in the photo, right? I mean, and again, AI is going to help with that. It's going to help even with those boxes of old photos right now that you have, that you don't realize how fast and powerful AI is moving. But you won't really know what was happening before or after that photo was taken. What emotions or events could have led up to that moment being captured? These are things that we're not going to know. And those are important questions to ask. And you want to make sure that you can find who can answer some of those questions, right? If you have family members with old albums and things, maybe take the time to pull out those old albums and start asking those questions, recording those stories. Interview older family members. Start looking at historical events and trends that maybe were happening at different times. You know, right now we are obviously living in significant historical times. But even just as early as a few years ago with COVID, it's interesting now that those photos that show up in my photo reel of, my phone time for 2 or 3 years ago, we're all wearing masks. I mean, fortunately, I'm thrilled that's not happening now, but that was a major historical event that's already a few years old now, and it's something that needs to be documented. Just think 15 years from now, people may not, be wondering, they might know about it, but they won't know, what would your experience was that like? What did that feel like? There's lots of online resources and databases to help you gather information as well. So to make this come to life a little bit more, I'm going to share two stories of my own about what I mean by a photo legacy. So again, this talk isn't about photo organizing itself. We did that. You can probably watch the recording, and we'll be talking more about digital photos next time we speak. We did a lot about setting the goals and what are the 5 steps. But this is really, again, about the legacy, about helping you think about storytelling and how you can take some of your photos and tell the stories that matter. So this, I'm first going to show you a collection of photos I took when I was in my mid-20s. And the other is going to be an example of an amazing photo book I just had created to celebrate the life of a little rescue pup of mine that had passed away. Both are part of my legacy. Neither use a lot of photos, but they each have a story to tell. So if I had passed away and my kids were going through my boxes of old photos and found these 3 photos, what would they know? Maybe the setting AI could probably help. They'd have to guess a little bit probably about what decade that photo was taken. Now they might recognize, you all might recognize that's Mother Teresa in that photo. Well, here's the story that I'm writing. You can see me with a pen in my hand, in my head. This is what I wrote, what I was actually writing when somebody took this photo. Waiting for Mother Teresa to come and give us an audience, we are all so quiet. No one has said much since we started our tour of Calcutta 3 hours earlier, staring out the window, breathing in the pollution. My senses are overwhelmed by the teeming masses moving outside. Vacant stares offer they must be so surprised to see a bus of white Americans with cameras driving by. And there's a sense of security sitting on that bus. We were observing but removed. The streets are glutted and the bus jerks us along past stalls of people selling everything imaginable. There's no need for health clubs or social organizations here. Survival is what's on people's mind. Children squat naked over curves, relieving themselves, and homeless children pick lice out of each other's hair. The Sisters of Charity are singing above us as we wait in a small room containing a simple wooden table with a Bible on it. A fan spins overhead on the walls of mustard yellow, hang various sayings of Mother Teresa and a picture of the Pope and a map listing her work around the world. And she enters, a frail woman who had just flown in from Canada the night before. And she gladly spoke to us in spite of jet lag. And she said, love begins at home, and families that pray together stay together. She said, you need to bring prayer back to the family and gather everybody together. And she just went on and talked about, she gave us some advice like that. And then she left as quietly as she came. And we all were just left sitting there with the reality of what it was where Mother Teresa was actually doing the work that she did. So doesn't that story that I just tell you bring those photos to life, right? Suddenly those 3 photos maybe found in a box mean something because I've had a story that I had actually written a story, but I could probably have come back in my memory and told some stories around that. Now that was a serious story, and not everybody has profound stories like that. And so here's an example of a legacy for me that happened when I lost my little rescue Chihuahua named Wiley. You can see him there in the photograph. He was old, but I had a deep connection with him that began the day I rescued him from a busy highway exit ramp. And I was heartbroken. So I would imagine if you raised your hand, or you could say yes in that Q&A, how many of you are animal lovers in this room that can relate to whether cats, dogs? Most of us are cats and dogs, but who knows? Maybe you have a rabbit or a horse or a pony or something like that. So I knew that we had a professional photo organizer whose business is called Once Upon a Tale Photo Books. And I had watched her journey through discovering the photo manager, starting a business and finding her niche, which was really working with people documenting the life of their pets. And I knew that when Wiley passed away, he's the only dog I would have ever invested in somebody else creating a photo book for me. What I didn't know is what I would discover about myself in the process. Lisa, who took the time to schedule 3 meetings with me, and she started me asking questions similar to the questions I shared with you. Before I knew it, I was talking about my childhood dog, which is named Sheba there, with 1990, you could see. I started talking about my brother who had passed away just 5 years ago and his dog. And then I started telling her about my sister and how her dogs helped her through a divorce. Then she would say to me, well, I sent her all my photos of dogs, which fortunately with AI we can do really easily. And she's like, well, you have lots of photos with other people's dogs. And she kept asking me questions and listening. And she presented back to me this photo book that showed me a totally different part of myself. So these are just a few pages that she included, including a timeline of the animals of my life that she even included the guinea pig from my children's childhood that didn't last very long in our lives. And it was a perfect example of a legacy. This book, I have joked with my family and friends, I want this at my funeral, because it really, I didn't expect a book like this. But by asking those kind of questions, I was able to really tell a story and using photos about a significant part of my life, which is my relationship with pets and things that I had never really given much thought to until somebody took the time to ask me those questions. And then we put them to writing into a kind of a photo book like this. So that's an example. I hope I've given you a couple ideas that when we talk about this legacy, we're not saying, oh, it has to be, you know, I was born in, you know, 1935 or, you know, and then I went to college and I did these things. It can be these little slices of your life that's part of your family legacy that bring those photos and stories to life. So here's some more advice, right? Preserving stories. You want to document the stories behind the photos. Now, digitizing old photos and storing them in safe, accessible formats is critical to that, right? And I'm imagining if you learned about us through PhotoMine, you're probably in that process, or maybe you've hired somebody to do it, or you're getting ready to think about that, because those old photos need to be saved and rescued through digitization so that they don't get lost through floods and fires and all sorts of just time, right? And then now those stories are much more interesting to share with the younger generation. So many people say, well, I don't think the next generation wants our family photos. And I say, they don't want all the photos that you take. They don't want all the photos we're currently taking, but they do want the handful that tell the stories that matter to them. And again, that photo book about the pets in our lives, my kids have loved that book. They're young adults now, they're not children anymore. And they have poured over that book more than I've seen them ever look at anything else, because they remember their feelings of their childhood pets that we suddenly included in that book. So some final reminders is family photos may not speak, but they do have stories to tell. By asking questions, conducting research, and preserving these narratives, we can unlock the hidden stories behind our family photos. And, you know, PhotoMine has that as part of their app. You can actually, tell that story along with that. And there's lots of other great technology out there that'll give you ways to do this. Now, one final word of advice. If you can, designate a family historian in your family. Maybe that's going to be you, right? They're the person who's in charge of the photo collection. Let your family know who that person is. It may be obvious. Usually, I bet you it's a lot of you because you're on this call. I have a sister, an identical twin sister, who has not documented one family story, but she knows that I'm doing it for her now, for her grandchildren, because it's just not her thing, but it is my thing. So, and there's always that person in the family. And you need to tell people where your photos are, because you do not want them to, especially your digital files that are part of your estate. People will need your login details so they don't get lost. It's terrible when somebody passes away and maybe all their photos are locked on their phone and you cannot get access to that. If you're using a library system or a shared site, make sure someone is maintaining that. The family historian or the person responsible can keep things current and be aware that if, passwords or your credit card fails or things like that, because maybe there was a breach in you lost a credit card, you got a new one, and you didn't realize that the renewal process has come and gone. Wouldn't it be awful if you thought that all your photos were safely stored online? Actually, that just happened to me. My email wasn't working yesterday. I was so frustrated. I have 2 emails, and then I realized my credit card was outdated for a website that I used, which was one of my emails, and I had to go in and renew my card. And I just didn't, it took me most of the day to figure that out because technology, I couldn't figure out why my darn emails weren't working. And it wasn't because the email was broken. It was because I hadn't kept my credit card up to date on that file. So that's a scary thought that could happen. And so definitely have somebody that's thinking about that. So we definitely want to have plenty of time here for Q&A. I hope I'm giving you some motivational ideas. We do a weekly newsletter. It's called Kathy's Picks. You can scan these barcodes if you'd like to sign up for it. It comes every Friday at the same time, and I curate really great content. People love it. We get a lot of compliments. It's not a sales letter. It's really going to be how to take better photos, organizing tips on legacy telling, also about security, anything that you need to know. We also have 12 album ideas. So I kind of gave you 2 album ideas, like the dog one, but if you're interested in, you're kind of stuck, we have some great ideas about ways you can take those photos and tell stories with them. And so we have a free guide like that. We also have a training program, which is a year of support. It's called Photo Manager in Training. Actually, Kimberly, who's answering the questions here on the, she found out about us through PhotoMine. She watched a webinar a few years ago and started a very successful business as a professional photo organizer. And so we both have, we have a program that you can join for 1 year if you just want help getting your own photos organized, or you can become a professional. And then last of all, we have a virtual conference we do every year, and you're welcome to check that out. So again, these QR codes will take you to these different websites, just giving you an opportunity to learn more about us. So that is the end of the presentation. I will stop sharing my screen. So make sure I'll give you another minute or so just to grab those QR codes if you want to. We can always put them in the Q&A, and let's see what questions that we have from people. Let me turn my video back on. So how are we doing with our Q&A there?
Great. There's some really, really good questions. Some of them are more PhotoMine oriented, how to work with PhotoMine, which I still do on some basis with some of my clients. But is there a PhotoMine user group? Do we know if there is?
Wait. Yes, I think I answered that person specifically, but there is a group on Facebook called PhotoMine Experts, where you don't really have to be an expert, where people from within the community share advice and ask questions and share scanning results, and we recommend joining. I will, yeah, just look up PhotoMine Experts on Facebook.
Excellent. And there's some questions about how to move and frame and work with PhotoMine. So that user group would be a really good place to be able to get that information versus specifically. Where do we find the recorded video discussing how to organize the photos?
Okay, so yes, this is a question that I've seen a few times. We have a playlist on YouTube that is dedicated to webinars. Maybe the last few ones are missing, but we'll make sure it's updated by the beginning of next week at the latest. So you can always visit our YouTube page and check the webinar playlist. And you have a lot of older webinars, and we'll have all the newer ones as well.
Okay. And then Kathy mentioned a previous webinar about organizing. Is it still available to watch? Would it be under the YouTube?
Exactly. We will add it to our YouTube page as well.
Okay. And Kathy, what was the name of the photo manager who made that pet book for you?
Oh, Lisa Denu is her name, and she is in New York. And I have it actually right here.
So while Kathy's getting the book, the way that you can get her information, and I saw the book a couple weeks ago, and it's fabulous.
I mean, it's just
Oh my God,
yeah.
that's so cute. You can go to the photo managers and you can see all of the pro members of the photo managers, and Lisa's probably in there. So that way you can get her name and number, and you can search under New York, you can search under her name for that. One of the other questions, Kathy, was how can I share all my photos with my daughter? I think we could talk about that for an hour, but.
Yeah, there's so many different ways. I guess the question, just to be more specific, printed photo, digitized photos. I'm assuming that's what she must mean once they've been scanned and digitized. Gosh, I mean, where would you start, Kimberly?
Oh, well, the most important thing is that you bring all your photos together in one place so that you can know what you have. And then you could use PhotoMine to digitize them, and you can share those folders that are on your phone with your daughter that way. And there are lots of ways to share. The most important thing I want to stress to everybody is that the safety aspect, if you have any of this, make sure you back it up. So in case something happens, that you have that available to you all the time. So,
and we could do a whole webinar on photo sharing options and ways to find photos through that, right? That's definitely something we could do a whole presentation on.
One person asked, I have a family tree using Legacy Family Tree. Can I transfer it to another computer? If you have that file, you can pull down that file, which is probably a PDF, but it may be a JPEG file. You can definitely transfer that to anywhere. But just remember, we always encourage everybody to back it up and have a dual backup system for that. Let's see. Can you talk about more about using AI to find out who is in the photo would generally help in saving digital photo files?
Yeah, I mean, AI is, I would do some research. We see a lot of companies, actually, we just had our conference and we had a company called Image AI, and there's other companies that have presented to us who are building out very robust software to do that. And I guess the best way to K on top of it is maybe to, you know, that's happening so quickly. And this one's called Photo Assistant. I don't know if it's totally in the general marketplace yet, but professional photo managers know about it. And again, if you sign up for our newsletter, we'll probably be including information like that. It's amazing what's happening in terms of identifying photos from like the 1800s or the 1920s, what they're able, right? He showed those demonstrations. It was fascinating because of geographic locations, or it's just amazing how they're training it. So they know like a street, what a street looked like maybe in 1910. And so that exists now in the memory of the AI. And so then when a photo goes up, and it can now start to match streets and buildings and things like that. And it's coming quicker and quicker with people as well.
Absolutely. Let's see, here's another, this is a really good question. So the person was taking the photos with PhotoMine and there was a subtle light falling on the photo and it wasn't really, she noticed it. She was working on a slideshow really quick. And she asked, how can we handle that subtle light being on there? What I would recommend is using, go to Michael's or a craft store and purchased a sheet of museum glass, and you can tell them how big you want it, 12 by 12, or I have one that's literally 20 by 20 for the larger photos that I do. But that way, museum glass is different. We've all seen pictures that hang on the wall that don't have a glare to them. If the sun shines in, that would be museum glass that is in that picture. And that'll help with that subtlety. It'll help with glare, those kinds of things. I hope that takes care of that person's.
And I think on your Amazon, PhotoMine has some great tools to help with all that,
yes,
right?
Absolutely.
Yes, we do. And just because this question came up a lot, I'm just going to say that some of our top tips, I mean, besides the professional accessories that we obviously recommend, is just using natural light. If you can like scan your photos or items next to a window and not turning on the light, that usually really, really helps with glare.
Yeah. And let's see. All right, I'm going back to and then I'm overwhelmed by trying to put together our legacy story of 50 years in the making. There's so much to share. Whew. That's an absolute truth. What do you think, Kathy?
Well, that's where I think I would spend some time thinking ahead of time about what are the key highlights. And so I talk a lot about the ABCs of photo organizing. And I talk about about themes. A lot of times people think they have to just organize and tell a story chronologically. But if you ask yourself, especially 50 years, what are the themes of your family experience? Were you a family that did you have traditions that you always celebrated? Did you celebrate birthdays a certain way, or Hanukkah maybe, or different holidays? If in the US, did you do something on the 4th of July? Did you love theater or sports? Then it's interesting to kind of curate your photo collection in storytelling format, maybe almost by chapters. So think about those key, ask your family members, what are the key things that's important about what is our legacy of who we are as a family. Like I mentioned, I didn't know the pet piece was going to be part of my legacy until somebody started asking me those questions. I would have if you had done this a month ago before I'd gotten the book, I didn't know that. So it's really interesting what might arise for you.
Exactly. And I think that people get very confused or limit their thought process. I have to do this by date. 2050, 2051, 1950, 1951. And it's really not necessary to do that. You can just do it by the 50s and the 60s and the 70s. And I think that takes that pressure off too. Let's see. You mentioned the photo organizers. I use PhotoBite for digital photo organizing, also used working for AP. It's extremely easy to use and organize. So that's nice. Let's see. Is there somewhere I can find out how to do that? Maybe use PhotoMine. And I would recommend that YouTube. It's a great channel to be able to find out different things about utilizing PhotoMine. Michelle, is there any way I can post on the question and answer?
Let's
Put in a few
see.
links.
I'm not sure. Maybe we can write in the chat and then the other people will see it. Let's try.
Can you use a photo scanner auto detect feature to detect picture boundaries as well as multiple photo pictures? I took a picture of an album page that I don't have access to anymore. I think that would be a question for you.
Wait, sorry.
You know,
So can you use the photo scanner auto detect feature to detect picture boundaries on a multi-photo picture? I took a picture of an album and I don't have access to it anymore.
Oh, yeah, the auto detect algorithm works on multiple photos. This is the main advantage of PhotoMine, where you can scan a whole album page and the app separates each photo and saves it as an individual photo. I'm not sure. Sounds like you have a specific issue, but you are welcome to email us at support@PhotoMine, and we can help you solve that specific problem that you've had.
Okay. And someone asked about the book again. And Kathy, can you give us her name? I'm not able to
oh yeah,
type.
I put it in the, can people see when I answer somebody else's question? I just had put it in there.
I think they can go to answered. And
Oh,
then
they go to
be able
answered because when I'm answering the questions, I see that's how it works. Yeah. But I will, yeah, her name is Lisa Deneau, and the name of her company is Once Upon a Tale, TAIL Photo Books.
And she only does animals. Is that correct, Kathy?
I think that's her main, yes, that's her.
And if you're looking for somebody to help you in the area, the photo managers is the site that you can go to find her if you can't look it up any other way. Let's see. Do you have?
I'm sorry.
Please
Please
go ahead.
If you send something in the chat to everyone, I think other people can see it. So I did a small check. You wanted to paste some link in the chat. So I think the participant cannot send messages, but they can see ours.
Oh, on the where it says host and panelist?
Yes. So just make sure you message to everyone and then people will see it.
I don't have that option. It only says you and me and Kathy. So I'm unable to post anything.
Okay. So
someone asked about an anti-static brush. There's some really good ones on Amazon. The only other thing I would recommend is a microfiber cloth, especially, photos can be larger and you want to get all of that, the dust and also the hair, especially if you have animals right now and they're all shedding. That'll be a really good way to do it, but I would check there. Someone asked if the Q&A can be emailed.
So the whole session now that we're answering questions will be sent as a part of the recording. The text answers I don't think will be sent, unfortunately. Yes, but I've sent a couple of links in the chat. So one is to PhotoMine's website, because some people ask me, you know, what if I don't have Facebook? I wanna see all these tips that you're talking about. So you can just go to PhotoMine's website. We have a lot of different sections there, including a very wide FAQs section. So that's one option. And I've also attached a link to the webinar playlist on YouTube, which has a lot of interesting webinars, and we'll have this one as well. So this is also maybe helpful to some people.
We also do the photo managers, if you want a YouTube channel where we do a lot of training. We just did a webinar yesterday on scanning, what do we mean by pixels, resolution, all those kind of questions. So if you just go into YouTube and type the photo managers, you'll find our YouTube channel as well. And I hope people realize, as I know some people are saying, oh, I thought we were going to talk about this or that. It's so, this is such a robust topic of conversations to have in so many different ways. And I think one of the things we try and caution people when they're getting started in this project is to think that there's an easy one. Unfortunately, it's not an easy one turnkey solution, right? The fact that you're here and getting started is really what matters most of all. And there's just a lot of information out there and it can get confusing, but it sounds like, but there's also, that's where YouTube and these and forums and asking other people for advice and things can really help.
Perfect.
And my company is Visual Story Media. If y'all got any technical questions that have to do with the broader perspective, I use PhotoMine and love it. So I'm happy to help also any way I can.
And actually I use PhotoMine for a lot of those, because some of those pet photos were in my scrapbook albums, I was able to use my PhotoMine app as well to capture those photos. And those photos I did in the PowerPoint came from my I scanned them from the book there with my PhotoMine app on my phone. So it's nice with the scrapbook app, which was great. I hadn't used that part before.
Yeah, the different modes are really helpful. Can do everything within the same app. Yeah, so I think just a moment before we say goodbye, I'm just going to say again, if you have any questions specifically about PhotoMine, any technical questions, you can either go to our website or email support@PhotoMine. If you have any questions about the photo managers, you can go to the photo managers website and contact Kathy and the beautiful community from there. Before I'm going to thank Kathy, I'm just going to remind you guys again about the sale that we're having. We will send you a link and some information with the webinar's recording, but you get 30% off on Amazon, on PhotoMine store on Amazon with the code 30PhotoMine, all capital letters. But you don't have to remember that. We will send it to you. Kathy, do you have anything else to add?
No, but thank you. That was generous too of Kimberly Visual Story Media. You can find her also on the photomanagers.com if you look for a pro in North Carolina, if you go by state. And no, thank you everybody. And we're here to answer your questions. So please feel free to reach out to us through our social media channels and things. We want to encourage you to do this project, share your family stories. They matter, people care, and everybody has a story to tell. And so don't, whether it's a pet or from a trip, it's all important, and we encourage you to take the time to do that.
Yeah, we want to be able to help you share, get it, and it's hard, but I promise we can do hard things.
Because everything is figure outable, right? Okay.
Thank you so much, Kimberly, and thank you, Kathy. It's always wonderful to have you, and there's always something new to learn, and you guys give it in such a clear and welcoming way that makes it sound a little bit less complicated than what it sounded initially. So thank you very much, and I'll see you on our next
webinar. We'll do the digital photos, which that in and of itself is a big that's a big one to uncover. So okay.
Yeah. Next webinar will be May 16th, and you can look forward to our email about that.
Okay.
So thank you. Have a wonderful day.
On your
Bye-bye.
project.